Matthew is currently undergoing transition to the CIO. How are you both equipped to deal with that, and how much knowledge do you have?
So Libby, you go first,
Yep.
then later you go.
As I spoke about, I've done a year as chair, which I did in my second year, well, first and second year. And because of that, I had a good look at the constitutional documents that we have currently in place. I know the procedures, I know kind of how things work, but also since then, I've been on the Constitutional Reform Committee, working with the other reps and Thomas and Emmy and Matthew to try and look through the constitutional documents and how we're going to change things going forward as we become a charitable incorporated organisation. So I have the experience on that level, but I'm not going to stand here and tell you it's something I know everything about. Like, I don't know all of it yet, and it's something that I think we're very much just all in together. It's a huge task for a bunch of students to go through, and it's just about trying to do our best with it. So yeah.
Likewise, have minuted a fair few meetings of the Constitutional Reform Committee, including ones that were 7 hours long. I've been in the discussions about the CIO transition at an exec level and at a trustee level, so I feel like I've got a good handle on how it's progressing at various levels of complexity, and I've spent a decent amount of time reading the Constitution because it's just so fun.
Anybody? Questions?
What would be your, how would you do your exec bonding? So what would be your evening activity? It's not in a weird way, James.
I think an escape room could be fun. Get all the exec together, force them to speak to each other. I think it would be a good way to sort of break down the ice, illustrate how well we can problem solve as a team, force them to socialise.
I think everybody's idea of fun is very different, and until you know the exec, I don't think you could, say. So I would like to sort of figure out, when we know who's elected, have a chat with them, see what kind of things they're into. Because, for example, you don't want to plan something that's really focused on drinking if you've got a lot of people there who aren't interested in that, and the other way around. So, yeah, I think it would just be about chatting about something like that. But I'd say I'm relatively fun. I've got a lot of ideas, and I think as well, maybe something where we could take people somewhere out of Durham for a night. Have a nice visit somewhere. I don't know, but I'll get round to it.
Questions? Okay, raise up your hand so I can see. Anna, then Emily.
I would think see our role working together, and also what we think will be the worst part about working with the team.
Well, Anna, now's the time to say I frankly never liked you. No, I spoke to Nick and I spoke to Emmy about what it was like when they did VP in terms of liaising with Alice and with Thomas, and they basically said it was just pick up the slack kind of thing is very much the way to do it. And if the president has a certain area of strength, then you could maybe do something that they find a bit more difficult. So I think it's just it would be a lot of having a lot of open communication and just chat where we go, okay, what are you dealing with well? What are you finding is a bit hard to finish? What is it that you absolutely hate doing because I'm doing it instead? And I think we'd have to have an open kind of communication. I'm not going to say, oh, I'd be really good at X, Y, and Z, because we don't know until we would work together. But yeah, I think I'm quite open to something. I don't get offended that easily. So if you were I just want to do this and you're not very good at that, do that, I'd be alright with that.
Okay.
I spoke to Emmy about the role. I spoke to yourself about how you think our relationship would evolve, and I think what we both came to the conclusion is that we're not really sure what we're both not good at, so we'll find out maybe, depending on elections. I think it is just a case of sort of working out where our different strengths lie, working out where our weaknesses lie, and trying to create a jigsaw of the president and the vice president.
Yeah. So one of the big things that you do as VP is represent the undergraduates, as the name suggests, not only to your peers, but also to members of college staff and to the external trustees. Do you have any relevant experience that you have for that, or is there anything that you would keep in mind when you were taking part in your representations?
I think in terms of relevant experience, I've with the stuff the SJCR's been doing this year, with the cut the rent protest, for example, I've sort of familiar with being in a protesty position. I haven't had much of a chance to interact with the college officers in my role this year, but I feel like they hopefully know who I am. So, I think it'd be just a case of speaking to them, establishing those relationships, working out, trying to engage with them on a constructive level. I think there's no point going to them and saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Saying, here are some issues, here's how I think we should solve it, and what do you think about that?
Can you repeat the question?
So just within this role, what you'll be doing of representation of undergraduates,
Yeah.
whether that be the peers, college staff, the external trustees. Do you have any experience or just something you would keep in mind whilst you do?
I think that I would say I know quite a few people within John's. I've always, used the chance to like have a chat with people in different year groups. When I was here last year, as second year, I tried to come into college a lot, speak to people who were in first year or graduating and things like that. I've always been quite friendly. I'll be living in next year as well, so I can hopefully get to know people over dinner and everything like that. But I also know like the college staff a little bit, not all of them, but I have quite a good relationship with Rebecca because I do the John's Chronicle internship thing. So we work together. I kind of know what sort of stuff it is she likes, what she doesn't like, and I know various other members of the college staff. And I think I'm quite good at sort of representing people's views and stuff. When I did President of Modern Languages Society last year, I had to represent the views of the students to the Modern Languages department and things like that, as well as to ourselves for like events and things like that. So yeah, I just try and chat to people basically. I'm very chatty, so I'll do that.
Me?
Yes.
Ooh, if you were a biscuit, what biscuit?
I'd be a dark chocolate digestive. I don't know why.
The dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate, specifically dark chocolate.
Jam and cream. Just a little
Sorry?
jam and cream.
Jam and cream.
Yeah,
In a biscuit or?
it's a jam. It's a biscuit.
Oh, okay.
Like-
But like,
No, like it is a biscuit that does exist. Jam and cream. Plan
Yeah.
plan.
I think that applies to both of you. How will you, how will you sort of maintain your commitments to sort of the roles that are required within colleges, sort of interacting with sort of college people? Obviously, where you're living out next year, living in Libby, you also have a year abroad, I think, for the next term, won't you?
Yeah.
How do you think you'll sort of maintain that sort of connection with sort of meetings? I think primarily meetings, sort of obviously maintaining, sort of ensuring you're present with everything, giving sort of full commitment to the role basically, without sort of worrying about, well, I need to be here, there, I need to be there, etc. Sorry, that's really.
Do you mean like this year or do you mean next year?
Sort of throughout the role really, because obviously
Right.
the role starts in next term.
Yeah.
So, again, obviously that goes till next year.
Just to clarify, the role for VP technically starts at the start of the next academic year, correct?
Yeah.
At the 1st of July.
1st of July, not now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
Like,
it-
more than-
Okay, wait. Rephrase the question to you. Annabelle.
For the next term.
Yeah, but so VP elect will have to attend other meetings in the VP elect role.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the question again, Theo? Sorry.
Basically, how you maintain a presence in college with meetings and things when you've got sort of commit to the other places and sort of obviously a lot of stuff. It's a big role, 18 months, so you can sort of maintain that connection to college.
No, it's you.
So yeah, I am still on my year abroad, as you know. I'll be moving to Germany in April, and I will be at university there studying. So it's about a similar commitment to what a first year has here, is from what I understand it. And obviously there is like a geographical barrier with being in Germany. I do not have the cash to fly home every week for a meeting. So I will be, on the OWL thing, which I've done quite a bit so far. I've been in the SJCR meetings, in the Constitutional Reform Committee meetings. And, as long as people are okay with like hybrid meetings, which I think most people after the pandemic are kind of all right with, I'm okay with that. I spoke to Emmy as well about the VP elect period and was like, how did you do it? And how am I going to do it when I'm literally not there? And we had a chat about it, and she basically said it was something that was manageable as long as I was flexible with meeting times, which from what I know of my schedule, I will be. And in terms of maintaining the presence, I don't know, just keep chatting to people, and yeah, that kind of thing. But I know not many of the freshers know me, but I've got next year to kind of make up for that, and I can't help that literally, unless I want to fail my degree, which I'm not here for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm living out next year, but as I think anyone who spends time in the LRC might have noticed, I'm there from basically 9 till 5, and then often here into the evenings for various meetings. I cannot do work at home, so I treat college like work. I come in the mornings, I leave in the evenings, and spend as much time as I physically can here without going insane. Yeah, so I think in terms of maintaining a presence, I will just I already hang around college. I'll continue to hang around college and keep attending committee meetings, keep meeting people. I do various other things, the boat club, for example, meeting people through that. So I'll hang around.
Okay. We have time for 2 more questions. So Thomas, and is there anybody else? If not, Thomas is going to be the last one.
Excellent. Okay, so given I understand why you want to run for an exec position, but I want to highlight to you that this role doesn't have a defined remit. It's often tasked with the jobs that the president doesn't want to do, or are particularly challenging because they involve conflict, for instance, is an often reason to go to a VP. And yeah, it can pick up on some really miserable things. As you know, a VP not that long ago resigned from this role, and indeed it has this responsibility of being a trustee. You have real responsibility, real liability for the actions of the charity. So I want to check that you're A, comfortable with that, and also I want to see how you balance that. Why this role in particular? Why, within that structure, what draws you to this role, noting those caveats?
I think firstly, touching on the liability thing, it's certainly something I had already considered when there were plans to make me the secretary of the trustee board that briefly happened. During that, that gave me the chance to have a think, is this something I'm comfortable with, and sort of reached that conclusion then, and that's very much stuck until now. And then in terms of dealing, sorry, my mind is blank. What was the second aspect of the question?
It's a sort of general point about why specifically this role, what excites you about this role, given the challenges.
I think having seen the work that Emmy's done this year, having seen the work that the trustees in general have done this year, it just made me, especially having been in the meetings, made me very excited to say, I'd quite like to be saying things. I don't want to just be sitting in the corner and typing away what everyone else is saying. I think having witnessed it firsthand, what everyone's doing, it sort of gave me more of an insight and more of a desire to have an impact, to sort of shape change, to be, to make life better for Johnians at a high level as possible.
I'd say I quite like responsibility. I have a meme page with a lot of followers, and that takes up a lot of my time. And I like being involved in things, especially when it comes to John's. Like I've stayed involved. I've literally been like miles away and not been able to tear myself apart from doing the SJCR. I like the responsibility aspect of it, because I've noticed through my time in the charity that that's how you make a difference, is being actually involved in things. That's where, you can say, I've thought about this needs improvement, and you can actually do it by running for things. And because it is such a general role without such a specific remit, that is actually the thing that kind of appealed to me, because it was so general. There's so much scope that you could do with it. You could drive it the way that you think it needs to be driven, and use it for the things that you see as important. And I kind of like that. And the fact that it's a trustee thing has not gone over my head. It's like scary, obviously. But I rang you and I rang Emmy just to see kind of what it was like to be a trustee. What was involved. And on a day-to-day basis, it seems like something that I could handle, but with a bit more research and stuff like that, which I'd be very much willing to do.
Okay. In the interest of time, we're just gonna have to move on.
Okay.
So thank you both of you.
Yeah.
Next, we